Good morning, friends. So we've been talking about Life in Union with Mary by Father Emile Neubert. And we've been looking, it's really about how to live your Marian consecration. And so we kind of looked at ways to incorporate Mary into your daily life and then how to incorporate her into your home. And I kind of got really excited yesterday. And I feel like we're supposed to look at how to incorporate Mary into our outdoor environments as well, which brings me back to a favorite topic. I've talked before about the St. Kateri habitats. And it is a program. You get like wildlife habitat certification, but it's more. So you have to have like a shelter for animals. You should have a food, and the shelter could be a particular bush or something that they live on. It doesn't have to actually be like a formal thing like a birdhouse or a bee house or something. So you're gonna have some kind of shelter for them, some kind of food. So like if you're especially doing monarchs, and that's the main focus of St. Kateri habitats is for pollinators and monarch butterflies, but it can be other things. So you're gonna look for some kind of plants, right? So that are food for the animals. And then you're gonna try and provide a water source, food, shelter, habitat. Yeah, and if you can, then the last thing is a place for people. And it's not just a place for people, it's a prayerful place for people. So it could be as simple as a little bench. It could be a little prayer on a sign that you put up in your garden. It could be a statue. So if you're wondering what exactly would work, go ahead. I'm going to put in the show notes if you look at them. So it's called the description, I think, on YouTube. So go ahead and look at those show notes. I'm going to include websites to the 3 resources I'm giving you today. So for the St. Kateri habitats, once you register yours, you're going to be linked on a map by your parish and diocese. It doesn't list your home address. You don't have to list your name, anything like that. What you can do is take photos and send them in, and they'll link them on their map of the world. And people can click on that and be able to see a little bit about the story of how you made your garden. So you might be able to click on somebody who lives nearby you and see exactly what they did, what native plants worked for them and whatnot, if there were any challenges, anything. So you can see pictures of even how theirs worked out, and how people are using it as a prayer space. Now, if you want to, though, and you want to be super creative, you can look at different ones. Like if you're doing it for a school class first, maybe you're going to have your kids make a diorama of what it would be, or get out some graph paper and graph it out for ideas. Great ideas for teachers. And then combine different elements from different kids, or you could have the kids vote on one to make. And so you can look, even they've got one in Poland. It's kind of cool because it's in the middle of a city, but it's a chapel that was actually destroyed during World War II. So it's multi-level, and they've turned it into this beautiful garden and haven for pollinators in the middle of a city. It's really exciting just to look at how different people have interpreted it. There's also a school for Native Americans, and they have some great native plants in there. So I really ask you to get out and look at that. They're calling it a story map. That's not what most educators would call a story map. It's a map that when you click on it, it tells you a story. The next one I want to cover, I found this article from Stephanie. She was actually a guest commentator at reallifeathome.com, and she's from Harrington, Harmonies. But what she gave is how to start a Marian garden in 7 easy steps. Now, I'm paraphrasing her totally. I like to make things alliteration so they're easier to remember. She goes into way, way, way more detail than I am. So the first step is basically location, location, location. Get out your yard and see what kind of spaces you have. And if you don't have space in your yard, don't panic yet. We're going to cover all this. And absolutely look at her site and the next one. You're going to get a lot of great ideas. So first step, location, location, location. Second step is get dirty. What kind of dirt do you have? If your dirt's great, you still might need to investigate it. A lot of time your local extension, what's that called? Local co-op extension. Well, you can get your soil tested so you know what plants are going to grow best in it. That's a great idea. Or you could go to the store and buy the appropriate soil to either mix in with yours or just start fresh, right? You can buy some great potting soil, or depending on what you're using, potting soil, gardening soil, whatever you're using, you can go do it. So location, 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 get dirty. 3, find a feature. So is there a particular saint you're going to do? Now, we were talking mainly about Mary today, but even saying Mary, you could pick any saint, but we're saying we're sticking with Mary. So if you're picking Mary, what are you going to do? Are you going to do Our Lady of the Rosary, Our Lady of Lourdes, Our Lady of Fatima, Our Lady of Guatemala, Mary, Star of the Sea? There are so many great ones. So you're going to have to pick your feature saint and then pick what statue you want. So it's time to get out those catalogs and brainstorm, right? And this could be really fun with the kids, even if you know the space you have and stuff. Let's see what the kids pick for the particular devotion to Mary. You could even try and do setup. Oh my goodness, what am I thinking of? Like the Battle of Lepanto. Are you going to have like Mary on a ship sail or something? I don't know. It could be a lot of fun. And that could be really great. You could have Mary like painted on a ship sail and have like a rocky area, maybe a water feature. Like you could have a lot of fun with this. Okay, so location, get dirty, find a feature. 4 is pick your plants. So picking your plants, and she goes into a lot more of this in the article. There's a lot of plants that have Marian connections or symbols in them or in their names. And so you want to consider, do you want that? Or are there native plants? You want to focus on native plants, or do you want to try and find native plants that are also Marian symbols? Like, what exactly are you going to do? And don't forget, you're probably going to want different heights of plants and different types of plants, right? Some of it you might want just for the greenery. Some you might want for color. You might want plants that bloom during different times of the year so that she's always blooming. If you live in a more desert climate, are there any succulent plants that are Marian plants? Like, what could you do there? So, and hey, you could come up with your own symbols, right? Even hen and chicks, they're a cute little succulent. That's Marian symbology right there, right? It may not be a traditional one, but you could totally get away with that. That could be a beautiful choice. Have a little statue of Marian and then have all your little hens and chicks coming out of all the little pockets of the planter, right? Okay, then you're going to plan your plants. So you're actually going to start graphing for greatness, exactly where you put them. So remember, I just talked about the different heights and colors. So you're really going to want to get out some graph paper. And if you're working in your Happy Planner, there's some, I don't know if there's actual graph paper, but it has the dotted one, so you can kind of connect the dots and use that dotted paper as graph paper as well. You're really going to want to plot it out. Not perfect, but at least to get a rough idea of exactly what it's going to look like. It's going to make the planting so much easier to have your plan. And you'll probably want to start, do you want to start at the back and work your way forward? Do you want to start at the middle and work your way out? Make a plan. So don't just plan the plants. Plan for how you're going to plant them. And just saying you want pansies. Like, what size pansies do you want? Unless you're graphing it, do you want like a 4-inch pot of pansies? Do you want a 2-inch pot of pansies? Do you want a 10-inch pot of pansies? You want to have at least some basic idea before you hit the gardening center, or you could just easily get overwhelmed with choices. Of course, your choices may not all be there. Maybe you can't find a 10-inch pot, but you can find 2 4-inch pots, right? So if you have a rough idea of what you want, you can take it in, even ask somebody at the gardening center to help you. If you have that plan, you're going to be able to ask for that help and get it quickly and easily. Okay, so we had location, get dirty, find a feature, pick your plants, plan your plants, and then you're going to purchase and plant. 6 is purchase and plant. Go out and do it. Now, you may be purchasing through a seed catalog. You might not be buying established plants, so you may be buying through a seed catalog, and then you're going to have to wait. And what do you do while you're waiting? You can pray the rosary. Go to your spot and pray the rosary that this ground is going to bless people. Maybe you could see if your priest can come out and bless the spot where you're going to have your garden. Get used to the idea that this is really going to happen and this is going to be there. If you're able to just outright purchase an already established plant, get out there and do it. Get dirty. Get that planted. And then don't forget number 7. Your crowning touches. Now, the author of this article, Stephanie, she included 7 stepping stones for praying the Franciscan crown. I loved that idea. If you pray a traditional rosary, you could have 5. You could have 15. However many you want to have. I don't think, if you have a really big garden, go for it. Put all 150 stepping stones or whatever you need. You could actually do stepping stones of a full rosary or make it look like a chaplet. You could totally make it look like a chaplet. Are you going to make stepping stones with your kids' handprints? Or have your kids put little, the little glass beads or the letters in them? You can make those. They have where you can make your own with a little bit of cement, and there's letters that you can actually press in there to make words. It's really fun to do that. So you could use those words. You could list or paint them. You could use fruits of the spirit. You could use it for virtues. You might have different sections for different virtues. You could, again, have other saints' names. If you're praying for your kids or for someone special, you could paint their names on little rocks. Or if you call one grandchild your little ladybug, one your little angel, you could paint those symbols and have them throughout your garden. The author also had this cute idea of having picking some things maybe to have out in a little bucket that you plant when you go to say a prayer. You could plant that pinwheel in the garden, and if that prayer gets answered, you could take it back up. So you could do that. If it's something you're sacrificing, it could be something that you add to the garden on a regular basis. And again, it could be something as simple as tiny little rocks, painted rocks. I don't know. Goodness, even the little beads, they could be like rosary beads. You could really have some fun with this. She did add, don't forget ladybugs. Ladybugs are named for Our Lady, but also they're really good helpers in your garden. So you could order some real ladybugs to bring in. You could order some monarch caterpillars perhaps and have them released. If you have some sort of a pond feature, you could go ahead and get some tadpoles from a friend or something to really liven that up, or some little fish or something. Oh, what could you do there? Oh, little goldfish for Mary. That'd be so cute. Okay, and also don't forget, you might want a little chair or a bench or a kneeler. How are you going to jazz it up? So those are your basic 7 steps that she has to building a Marian garden. Again, I'm going to link this in the show notes. The one last one I wanted to tell you about is some unconventional Marian gardens. Now, there are photos of all these out there. It turns out the Catholic Company has been having a Catholic garden contest every year for like 5-6 years at least. And so you can find these pictures out there on the web. I'm going to give you the site that had this article that showed 5 of the winners of one year, but they're still running this contest. So you have a chance to enter. You're going to submit your photo of your garden. So one of the things they did, maybe you don't really have a garden space, but maybe you have a fence or a wall. If you have a wall, you could possibly make a mosaic or paint a mural. You could paint your fence. What about a water feature if you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of plants? And it doesn't even have to be necessarily a water feature. One had a Marian statue, and it had a curvy line of rock coming out, like to simulate a water feature. So even if you don't have a water fountain going, but if you can add a water feature, remember that really helps your St. Kateri habitat to have some kind of water for the little critters. So having some kind of little water feature, a little fountain, a little waterfall, even if you can make a grotto and even put like a bird bath in the grotto, that would even totally work. That would be a great idea. What about a nook? Say you have a weird angle at your house and you have like this little, like 1/2 foot notch in your house and you have nothing there. Why not put a little tiny plant stand with a Marian statue, or a small potted plant with a Marian statue, or even some kind of a little picture of Mary on, painted on wood on a garden stake, and you could put that in your potted plant. And so that nook could be made into something really beautiful. Of course, you can always use container gardens. So if you don't have a yard, maybe you just have a little balcony. Absolutely, you could put Mary out there on it. You could possibly have a Marian wind chime, right? That would even be beautiful. Or if you have like those macrame hanging plants, you could use that for any kind of hanging plant could be turned into a Marian garden. Now, you wouldn't have like a 4-foot tall statue of Mary of it, but you could easily get one of those little solar light up Marys, or painted on tin or on wood, and you could put the little plaque in it as well. That would be so beautiful, friends. Okay, what else? Oh, the one that was the last one, it was really cool. They had like a trellis over their patio, and it had, I think it was wisteria hanging from it, and underneath that wisteria they had a cute little table with Mary on it, and that's just a beautiful idea as well. I could imagine morning prayer would be really lovely out there at that table. So these are just some of the ideas of incorporating Mary outside into your yard. And if you live someplace that you can't even have statues, you can still have those plants on the down low. Okay, friends, get out there and start planting your beautiful spring of Mary in your yard. God bless, friends. Bye.